The text message arrived at 9:17 p.m. 3 words. I'm still okay. Anyone else would have glanced at it and moved on, but I nearly dropped my coffee. Because 30 years earlier, sitting at a cheap diner outside Fort Bragg, I had taught my little sister exactly what those words meant. If she was safe, she would write, I'm doing okay. If she was being watched, controlled, or forced to pretend everything was fine, she would write, I'm still okay. One word. That was the difference. One word meant trouble. One word meant she needed help. One word meant I had 15 minutes to decide whether I was overreacting or whether my sister was in danger. 15 minutes later, I was already driving toward her house. And for the first time in 20 years, I was using skills I thought I'd left behind when I retired from the military. My brother-in-law had always thought I was just his quiet, gentle sister-in-law. He was about to learn how wrong he was. I retired from the Army at 56. 20 years in uniform had taught me many things, but perhaps the most important lesson was knowing when not to talk about myself. A surprising number of people spend their lives trying to impress strangers. I never saw the point. After retirement, I moved into a small house outside Richmond, Virginia. It wasn't fancy. The front porch needed repainting. The flower beds constantly fought against the weeds. The mailbox leaned slightly to the left, no matter how many times I fixed it. I loved every inch of it. Most mornings I woke before sunrise, made coffee, and sat on the porch, listening to birds wake up. Nobody there knew much about my past. To them, I was simply Sarah Mitchell, a quiet woman who liked gardening, a widow who volunteered at the animal shelter, a woman who baked peach cobbler for church fundraisers. I preferred it that way. The Army had already taken enough years of my life. I didn't need to carry it into every conversation. My younger sister, Emily, lived about 40 minutes away. She was 4 years younger than me and had always been the softer one between us. When we were children, I climbed trees. Emily picked flowers. I got into fights. Emily apologized for them. I joined the military. Emily became a school librarian. Yet somehow, we had always remained close, especially after our parents passed away. For years, every Sunday became our tradition. Lunch together, coffee afterward, a few hours talking about nothing important. Those afternoons meant more to me than I ever admitted. Emily married Kevin Brooks, 8 years earlier. At first, I liked him. Most people did. Kevin was charming when he wanted to be. He shook hands firmly, remembered birthdays, told funny stories at barbecues, helped neighbors move furniture. The kind of man people described as a good guy. But charm can hide many things. The first time I noticed something strange was about 3 years into their marriage. Emily stopped making decisions. Not openly, not dramatically, just little things. I'd ask where she wanted to eat. She'd look at Kevin first. I'd ask if she wanted to visit me for a weekend. She'd check with Kevin. I'd ask what movie she wanted to see. Kevin answered for her. At first, I convinced myself I was imagining it. Then the pattern continued, year after year. Little pieces of my sister seemed to disappear. One Sunday afternoon, while Emily was in the kitchen, Kevin sat across from me on their patio. He took a sip of beer and laughed. You know, Sarah, I don't think you've ever had a real job. I smiled. Really? Sure. He gestured toward the flower beds. You've always seemed pretty relaxed. I nearly laughed. I'd spent years sleeping in tents, surviving desert heat, managing soldiers, and making life or death decisions. But I simply said, that's one way to look at it. Kevin chuckled. I mean, Emily's the strong one. She's always been the responsible one. I watched him carefully. Not because his words offended me, because of the way he said them. There was something beneath the joke, something dismissive, something that suggested he enjoyed underestimating people, especially women. After that, similar comments became common. Sarah's too nice for the real world. Sarah doesn't understand business. Sarah worries too much. Sarah spends all day with flowers and dogs. Emily usually looked uncomfortable when he spoke that way, but she never challenged him. That bothered me more than Kevin's comments ever could. The sister I grew up with wasn't afraid of speaking her mind. The woman sitting beside him seemed afraid of something. I just couldn't figure out what. Over the next 2 years, the changes became harder to ignore. Emily stopped answering calls immediately. She rarely went